We are live. Bienvenidos and welcome back, familia. I am Leonardo Torres, and this is our good friend Mustachio still in the house. I think I'm going to keep Mustachio. I like him. I really do. He's gotten a couple of good compliments, when we're out and about, and that's a-okay with me. Familia, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me okay. If you're watching on Instagram, we are live on YouTube, and we're talking about stillness. So, hermanita, I see you here on Instagram. If you want, you can go over to YouTube. I have a whole slideshow with this sort of presentation, if we even want to call it that. A quick shout out to everyone tuning in. We got Aki in the house. Welcome, Aki. Haven't seen you in a good while on the live chat, so welcome. We got Angela in the house, Katie, Donovan, David Wellman in the house, Jackie in the house, Erica is in the house. She's literally in the house. She's right here, next next to me. She wanted to opt out on this conversation, and that's fine. She's going to be conversing with you all on the live chat to the side. Her laptop is acting up today, so she's not going to be on her laptop. We got to go get it either fixed or something. I don't know what's going on with it. Probably just go exchange it. But thank you so much for joining us on this conversation here today. We're going to be talking about stillness, and I originally wanted to call this talk about it Tuesdays. I wanted to talk about being at the gates of sin, but I thought that it might be better to talk about being at the gates of stillness and what it means to be still. Baja, welcome, man. Welcome to the conversation. We're live on YouTube, so if you want to join us, if you're on Instagram, you want to join us on YouTube, you can join the chat and answer some questions. This is going to be a conversation. It's going to be a back and forth. We're going to talk about stillness and what it means to be still. So here is the slideshow. If you're watching on Instagram, you can just follow along. You can also leave me some comments here. But today we're going to be talking about stillness, and there's a disclaimer. The information on this episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. So please consult with your healthcare provider for guidance on specific cases on a case-by-case basis. And the reason why I bring that disclaimer about is because we're going to be talking about how thoughts and how our emotions affect us. And I want you to know that if you're struggling with anything emotional or mental, please seek the help that you need by professionals. Okay. This is just an add-on. This is just for informational purposes to add on to your therapy if that's what the route you want to go. So the question that we're going to begin with is, what is stillness? What does stillness mean? What exactly is stillness? What does it mean to be still? We hear that in the Bible, be still and know that I am God is what the Bible says. But what does it mean really to be still? What is stillness? David Wellman says stillness is the art of patience. Yes, patience is a fruit of that stillness, right? It comes with it, right? What else? TD Watt says metal all day. There, yeah. I'm gonna come up with a metal intro, just like rock, right before these conversations. Praying you feel better, Erika. Oh, Jelena prays that you feel better. Thank you. Roxana, Erika says hello. Mama Bear's in the house. Mama Bear in the house. So, what is stillness? What does it mean to be still? For a lot of us, it's hard to find some quiet time and to be still physically, right? You can be still physically. You can also be still mentally, and you can be still emotionally, right? There's all these forms of stillness. And today we're going to talk about all three, actually. So how can we be physically still? It's interesting because a lot of us don't have that kind of time, right? To find a quiet room, to just sit quietly without any external disturbances, right? Without anything coming and interrupting your quiet time, right? For a lot of us, it's really hard to come to that quiet time. So what does it mean? How can we be physically still? What are some things that you do to find physical stillness? Jackie says, for me, it's too much stillness. Yeah, if you look at my gut, I think I've had too much stillness. I've been still for far too long. I've been sitting here on this couch or on this chair for a really long time, for over a year now, and it shows. Comfortable in yourself emotionally. That's where we're going. We will definitely get to that. I see stillness as a way of listening to God's voice. That's another form of stillness, or that's where we're getting to. That's where we're actually going to move towards, right? Stillness can be peace, Roxana says. That's a good response as well. Kim, hi Kim, welcome. Kim says, good question. Yeah, it's a question that we should all definitely ask ourselves. What does it really mean to be still? In fact, I want to really quickly just encourage you all that when you're listening to things like sermons, if there's a word that you don't understand, look it up. I sometimes feel like I've had my questions of the day on YouTube for you all to answer the questions of the day, things with like repentance. What does it mean? What does repentance mean? And I allow you all to answer in your way. And I see so many different answers, but I see a common answer in all of your answers, and that kind of gives me a better idea. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Okay, on this channel, we're going to ask some questions. Some questions are going to sting, but they're not meant to hurt or harm. It's just meant to get to the bottom of what we call truth, right? All right, so physically still is easy, right? Mentally still is impossible for me. Silence and solitude was the topic for this month's NRT meeting yesterday. This is very fitting. This is something that we're all suffering with. We're all struggling with. Nobody has this down right. The problem is that nobody is teaching this, or nobody is actually exploring this, I should say, together. Like we're exploring this together here. So we're definitely going to explore this. I'm not sure I have fully grasped the term stillness, says Erika. That's right, David Wellman. Something you said was right. Taking muscle relaxer, very physically still, or listening to boring lecture. Wait, what are you saying? Well, this isn't a lecture, so that's good. All right. So there's those forms of stillness, right? Now, here's where we're gonna get a little deeper. Is it possible to be emotionally still? What do you all say, familia? Is this something that we can actually do? Someone on Instagram, Adriana says, Adrian says, giving your worries to God and go about your day, staying productive while trusting God, He has your situation under control. That's a great answer, right? So handing over our control, right? Our need to control everything, handing that over and finding some peace in that, finding some stillness in that, right? All right. So is it possible, familia, to be emotionally still? What does that mean? That means that emotions aren't exploding, that they're not bursting and demanding that you take action on them. Is it possible? God says that it is possible. Not easy, though. That's what Katie says. Mama Bear says, I've got to go. Say night-night. All right, Mama Bear, have a good night. We love you. Ooh, I like the picture. I just noticed what it is, the graffiti on the wall. Awesome. Love it. Possible, yes. Easy, no. Okay, that's all we're asking is it possible? Is it possible? That's all we're asking. And I love that you all say that it is possible to be emotionally still. Here's another question. Is it possible to be mentally still? To have mental stillness, the stillness of the mind, if you will. And by the way, I noticed that in the Bible, whenever it talks about the heart, it could be translated to your mind, right? So God renews your heart, gives you a new heart. It means your mind and your emotional and your thought mind, right? Your thinking mind, your psychological mind, gives you a new heart, right? So is it possible to be mentally still? Is that doable? Kim says yes. Yeah, that it's also possible. Welcome, Linda Garcia. Welcome to the live chat. Mentally still with focus/practice. Yes. And we're gonna go a little bit into that, familia. We're gonna go a little bit slightly into that. So now let's look at this. Food. What is food for thought? We've heard this phrase mentioned before, food for thought. And what I'm looking for, the answer that I'm looking for, or the question that I'm actually asking here is, what feeds your thoughts? What is food for your thoughts? What is food for your emotions? What are your emotions and your thoughts feed off of? They're always there. We sometimes want to push them away. Sometimes we want to run away from them. We distract ourselves with TV, with food, with people, with all kinds of stuff, substances, sex, We distract ourselves with so many things to avoid feeling certain emotions and to avoid thinking certain thoughts. But they're there. They're always there. They're always present. They're always reminding you about something you did in the past, a mistake you made in the past. They're always there to remind you how horrible you should feel. They're always there to remind you that you're not loved. They're always there to remind you that you are nothing, or you will amount to nothing. They're always there to ask you to think about tacos. That's right. Right. So your thoughts are always there. Your emotions are always there. But what is feeding them? What does it want from you? What is the thing that makes them continuously bother you, and what are they demanding from you? Can we think about that for just a moment? What are your thoughts feed off of? Food for thought: Bible, culture, group of friends, books. Those are things that could feed your mind, right? But your thought, when it arises inside of you, it wants something from you. Can somebody tell me what that is? A negative thought only lives and continues to live because you feed it something. What does it feed off of? What do you think that is? So, for example, just to kind of play off of that story that I mentioned to you all before about my mother and how I was raised. For me, my mother would often tell me that I was an idiot, that I didn't know how to do anything, right? So then if I carried that, if I recorded that, and my mind continuously to say, like, you're such an idiot, what does it feed off of? What keeps that thought from coming again and again and again? Somebody answered it already. Somebody definitely answered it. It says it feeds off of your agreement. That's right. Okay, that's true. It wants control of your emotions and thoughts, life. Yes, it wants control of that. And you give it to it willingly. You give it control. But here's the answer that we're looking for: attention. Your thoughts and your emotions feed off of attention. You give it your attention, and then it's got you, and then it continues to feed you more of those thoughts. Why? Because you're going to carry out a thought that it wants, right? We're talking flesh and mind working together to get what it wants. It's self-serving. It is only serving itself. And what it does, your mind presents an idea. For example, it'll say, hey, remember when we went out to, I don't know, I'm just going to use this as an example. It's not pointing out anyone specific or anything like that, or even an experience that I had. Hey, remember we went out to this club and we met this person, and we got home, we came home, and we brought them home, and we forgot about our bills and all this other stressful stuff. Remember that? Yeah, that was pleasurable. Let's do that again. It wants to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It wants to repeat that experience because it feeds off of that experience, because it gives it temporary pleasure. And that's why it continuously feeds you, hey, let's repeat it. Let's repeat it. And the flesh follows. It says, okay, let's do it. Okay. So when I give it my attention, it reminds me more and more. It digs deeper. But what would happen, familia? I just have a really quick question. What would happen if you didn't give it your attention? What do you think would happen to your thought, a negative thought? And you can list them off if you're open to it. If you are okay with listing off what negative thoughts you have that you do not like, list them off on the live chat. It's okay. You can be as vague as you want or be as clear as you want. It's totally up to you. But a negative thought arises in you. And what is a common thought that you have often? And what would happen if you didn't give it attention? If you didn't give it attention, what do you think would happen? Brings me to this question: is it possible to starve your thoughts? Is it possible to starve your thoughts? Meaning that you do not feed it, that you do not feed your thoughts. I'm asking something very very challenging, familia. I know that it's not easy. I'm asking you something very, very challenging. It's easy. It's easy to say, but it's challenging to do because it requires you to really look into it. It requires you to really look into it. It would go away, for me at least, right? The reason why it's so difficult to look at this is because you have to change your perspective. You have to change from being the thinker and the feeler to being the one who observes the thoughts and who observes the feelings. And that's not easy for a lot of people because for most of us, we allow our thoughts and our emotions to just take us and carry us away. Can you think of a time when you just reacted to something without even thinking? I'll tell you a quick story. Many, many years ago, my brother was about, I want to say he was about three or 4 years old. And I lived in the back house at my mom's when we lived in Compton. And there was a furniture store that was in the corner house, or in the corner. It was about two houses over in the corner. It was a furniture store. And this furniture store, this lady stored a bunch of old furniture on her attic. So it was just like wood everywhere. I was in the back watching a movie, and my mom comes in through her back door and knocks on my door, and she goes, Leo. And then she mentions my brother's name, Juanito, right? So I come out to the door and I see smoke everywhere. The building was on fire. Okay. The house was on fire. This furniture store was on fire. My brother used to hang out with the owner's son, would often go in there and play video games. And so when my mom called my name and then called my brother's name, I thought my brother was in the building playing with the kid. Without thinking, I ran through the side of the house. I jumped the fence that would require you to it would require maybe 4 or 5 steps to jump over this fence. I jumped in one single thing. I jumped up, pushed myself up, kicked over, and just fell. Nearly hurt myself, but I jumped over this fence. I went over to this building, and it had a giant roll-up door, and it was just, but it was cracked open like about this much, so it was like pretty much closed, and a bunch of smoke was coming out of this building, a bunch of it. So what did I do? I rolled up the window. I rolled up the door. I took a step back. I took a deep breath, and I was prepared to run in there and save my brother. No thought about it. No, is this dangerous? No, should I? Or he's probably burnt up already. No, none of that. Right? If I gave a moment for my brain to rationalize that, I would probably talk myself out of it. So I was just about to run in there when I noticed at my mom, she was like making this gesture like, what the heck are you doing? And my brother was standing right next to her, and I felt like my heart was coming out of my chest because I was just about to walk into fire to save my brother. I heard a lady screaming in there, so I asked her to follow my voice. She followed my voice. She made it out. So one person was saved that day. And I'm not saying that to impress anyone or anything like that. I'm simply saying that there are actions that we take where thought or emotion is not even the initiator of that action. Okay, so I know that this is possible. I know that it's possible. Now, we also have these moments where our thought blocks our emotions and we react out of our thinking. And there are moments where it's backwards. Our emotion blocks our thinking and we react emotionally. So we know that there's a pushback on either one. But my question now, and sometimes it's both, but my question now is it possible to act and to do something without your emotions and your thoughts entering into it? Is there an action that does not require thought or emotion? Is it possible to starve your thoughts? Can we starve them? Meaning not give them any attention. And in case we're not clear, I want to ask this question. What is attention? What does it mean to give your attention to something? Which is different from concentration. To concentrate on something, you're thinking about something. To give your attention to something means that you were attending, that you're fully present in what's happening right now. Somebody said, yeah, like it's adrenaline, right? And now here's what Merriam-Webster says that attention is. Attention is the act or the state of applying the mind to something, to apply the mind to something, or be a condition of readiness for such attention involving especially a selective narrowing or focusing of consciousness and receptivity. It means to just be still, to allow your emotions like the wind to just pass you by. It's going to demand, hey, act on this, act on that, but you are the one that decides what you act on and what you do not act on. I mean, have you ever been on the phone with customer service and just wish that you can reach your hand into the phone and out of their phone and just somebody because you're not understanding? No, we're not that violent. But sometimes we do. We have these feelings that are just like, man, if I could just make you understand, right? We have these frustrating moments. Is it possible to have that frustration arise but not act on that frustration? Many of us don't act on that, or otherwise we wouldn't have kids. Or at least we'd have kids and then they would cease to exist. That's kind of dark here, but it's true. We all have moments where we are these emotions arise, these thoughts arise in us, and we have that choice to either act on them or not. Linda, focus is another thing. Focus is something else, because focus still requires a process of thought. There's a movement of thought here because you're focusing on something. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Let me take that back. It depends on what you're focusing on, because you could be still and attentive and focus, but not thinking. You got to make sure that it's not a focus that is thinking and anticipating something specific, but just still and mindful and aware of what is happening without thought entering into it. I heard somebody put it sort of this way. Is it possible for you to look at me, and not have an idea of me? To not allow your thoughts to say, I think Leo is this, or I think Leo looks this way, or to identify me and put me in a image, in a box. Can you look at me and just see me? Can you look at whatever object is in front of you and just look at the object without calling it what the object is? What would happen if we stripped the name off of everything that exists? Can we look at it without the idea of it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, can I see you and see you, not the image that I have created of you? We talked about images in the last conversation we had. Can I look at you as you are, a child of God, not a Christian, an American, any of that? Is it possible? Right. Somebody on Instagram, 30 Block Jarvis, put that, be still and know that I am God, right? God calls us into the state. And I'm glad that you called it a state. God calls us into this state, and it is a state. It's not who you are. It's a state that you're in. Actually, I could go deeper into that, but for now, we're just going to go into what is attention. Now let's look at what is awareness. It's to be aware, right? This attention is to be fully present and aware without allowing thought to grab onto anything, without grabbing onto any thought, actually. The quality of state of being aware, knowledge and understanding that something is happening or that exists. You're just aware, and you're acknowledging that something is happening or that something is existing, but you're not calling it what you've been taught that it is. Okay? It's like if I got into, if I had an apple and I said, what is this? And you said it's an apple. And I go, no, it's a manzana, because that's it's an apple. It's in Spanish. We have different names for it, but if we strip everything from it and not call it anything, then there is stillness. There's awareness. There's just you and the thing without your idea of the thing, which is memory, past, future. Oh man, there's so much that we can get into that I don't want to throw you into a ball of confusion here, but is it possible to be aware without thought is really what I'm asking you, Familia. Is it possible to be aware without thought? What do you all think? Carolina Soriano says, I often observe these negative thoughts or become aware of them and then look at the root of the thought, the cycles that it operates in, and then work to dismantle it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is is just to look. I have anger in me. Somebody says something to me. Remember my image? They hurt my image. I become angry, and then I go and I shove them and I push them on the ground and then walk away, or worse, do something worse. Can I, in retrospect, can I look at that negative, at that action, first of all, see the root of it, where it started, say, I was hurt because they called me stupid, and then say, maybe I'm the one, maybe there's something in me that needs to be fixed. Why do I get offended when someone calls me stupid? What do I have in me that says that I'm smart, and so when I'm called stupid, I have to defend it in such a way? Can I be called stupid without that action coming out of me, and then dismantling it, really doing it though? A lot of us are taught what to think, but we're not taught how to think, and the trouble that our thoughts get us into. David says, I'm sure only the last 2 decades or so has an undercurrent of balkanization emerged in the culture that forces more and more on a superficial differences than inherent commonalities. That's exactly it too. That's another part of it, is comparing ourselves to others. When we compare ourselves to others, there's conflict. There's this internal conflict. We're making images. We're constantly making images. When I'm looking through Instagram, right, and I see someone going on vacation, and they were on vacation the week prior, and it's like, how does this person go on vacation, right? And then it's like, I make an image of where I am. I never leave the house. I never leave my state. I never get to do anything fun. I never get to do anything like this. And then I look at their image. I compare my image to theirs, and now I'm bitter. Now I'm angry. Now I feel all these things. And then my memory, my thoughts come into play, into like, see, your mother was right. You never will amount to anything. You see, your teacher was right. You'll never become anything. And it's just comparing. Can I come to a place of stillness where this comparison is not taking place, where I'm not comparing? Be still. It says, be still and know that I am God. I'm gonna touch on this for just a minute. Be still and know, which means that there's a knowing that does not require the movement of thought. There's a knowing, there's a knowledge that does not require the movement of thought. This is not psychobabble. This is not what some people call woo-woo, or like, like some theory or some idea. It's not even an idea. It's a fact. Like, look at it. Really look at it. Be still and know that I am God. It says, in the knowledge, in that stillness, you will know, without reading, without evidence, without anything that proof, without any proof, that God is God. To become a doctor, to become a teacher, to become all these things requires thought. It requires that kind of knowledge, requires thought, because you need to study, you need to employ your thought, your thinking, employ your mind, hire. Like, I'm going to hire my mind to think about this thing. You employ your mind to think about and study the body, study the mind, study whatever, and then become a doctor. Then you have this knowledge, right, that you use to be a doctor. But we're talking about a knowledge that does not require that. It does not require a study. It doesn't require an idea, a belief, a theology. It doesn't require any. It knows what it knows. And yet we deny this day in and day out, because we go out into the world, we think, we let the world do the thinking for us. And that's where we're in trouble, familia. That's where we're in trouble. There needs to be a good balance of both. There needs to be a good balance of both. But we can't allow the world to do the thinking for us. We have to come to this sort of stillness and observe from there, and observe what is happening from there. Not be in our thinking, and then people pitch us their ideas and we just accept their ideas. We have to be observant. This is why we're lied to. This is why we do things that appear to be good but are bad. This is why we do things that are bad that appear to be good, because we're lied to, because we're distracted. But if we come to that stillness, what's good will stand out, and what's false will dissolve. Does anybody see that? Does anybody have any questions about that specifically? In that stillness is is spiritual knowledge, not psychological knowledge. Right? Patricia says, agree with God's image of you. Do not agree with the accuser of the betrodden, right? Of what you all would call the evil one, right? That sort of thinking requires a level of self-awareness often lacking, right? So this is where we're getting at, is to be self-aware, to be aware of the movements of your inner world that we talk about all the time. You have to be aware of it. You have to. Otherwise, you're worshiping an image of God. You're not really in relationship with God. Is it okay that I say that? That's very dangerous for me to say. That's very dangerous for me to say, because some people are not going to like that. And I don't mean anything negative by that. But we do have to be aware of how we learn and where we are, so that we can first be in relationship with God and then learn about it. Not learn about it and then be in a relationship with God. Because then how do you know the difference between worshiping an image versus worshiping God? Is that a good question to ask? How do you know the difference between worshiping an image of God, what you think God is, what you've been told God is, and worshiping God? Actually, what God is versus what you think God is. Is that a good question to ask? Does anybody have an answer for that? Put it another way, the more I learn, the more I learn what I have yet to learn. My grandfather, you would say that all the time. I think that's as long as we live on earth, we will have thoughts. It is important to know which ones to feed and which ones to starve. How do we make the difference? Right? How do we know the difference? How do we know the difference between which thoughts to feed and which thoughts to starve? If it's negative, do you want to feed that? Do you want to feed your negativity? Do you want to feed your pain? Do you want to feed your hurt? Are those things that are present in God? I'm an amateur in the Bible, so I can't give you the exact scripture, but isn't there something in the Bible that says that he is not giving you a spirit of fear? I have not given you a spirit of fear, is what it says. So do you want to feed the fear? Do you want to feed anxiety, anguish, resentment, hatred? Anything that makes you feel less than? Do we really want to feed those thoughts and those emotions? Erika says, no, I don't. We don't. No, we don't. We don't want to feed those thoughts. We don't want to feed those emotions. Why not? Why not? Let's look at that. Why not? Why don't you want to feed the fear? That's a serious question. Let's look into it. Why do we not want to feed the fear? Fruits of the spirits are results, right? Do we want to feed the thoughts that are of the flesh, that are only self-serving, that are temporary? Right? We don't want to feed them because they hurt. What one feeds gets bigger, right? And we want to spread love, right? So we have to cultivate it. No, it's wrong word, cultivate, because that means it's forced. We have to, okay, perfect. We want to spread love. We have to tap into the well. We have to tap into the well, and there's a never-ending well from which we can draw love that is pure and kind. And it's the type of love that where that love is present, where we experience that love and that kind of compassion, true love, true compassion, meaning God's love or God himself, because God is love. Where that love is, also that intelligence is there. That intelligence is present wherever love and compassion is present. That knowledge that God is who he is. Be still and know that I am God. And in that stillness is an intelligence that uses thought, not that is used by thought. See the other way around? To become something, you use thought to become that thing, and then you get the knowledge, then you get that intelligence, right? That wisdom. We're not talking about that kind of wisdom. We're talking about an intelligence and a wisdom that is fully present, that uses thought to become these things. Is that clicking with someone? Does that connect? There are two forms of intelligence, familia. Think about it. If we, even physical intelligence, if I cut myself, if I have a cut on my face here, I have a cut on my face, do I need to think about healing it? If it were up to me, it would never heal, because I would forget, because I'd be distracted by the world. Oh, I need to sit in a moment and heal my wound. No, there's an intelligence that's already present that does it, that is already there, healing it. There's an intelligence present that watches the thought as it floats by. It's watching it. It doesn't act on it. It doesn't give it attention. It doesn't say, it doesn't do anything. It just watches it. And in that observation, there's a solution to the problem. It goes, oh my, I just noticed something. That when somebody says this, I take it to mean this, I give it meaning, and then I act on that meaning. What would happen if I stopped giving it that meaning and then play it through? It says this, I don't give it that meaning, and then whoop, floats by. Does anybody not see that? Does anybody question that? I mean, does anybody challenge that? If you do, go for it. But this is something that is available to everyone. This isn't just for someone who's well-versed in the Bible. This isn't just for someone who went to college. This isn't just for someone who studied with monks in the mountains. This is available to everyone for you to see. It's in you. This form of intelligence is already in you. It is you. This is where we can begin to spread love, when we tap into that intelligence. We got to tap into that. God sacrificed his son for us to live in love and not in fear. That's right. I want to just really briefly bring our attention. I don't have it set up. Otherwise, I would put it up on the screen. But maybe we can talk about this with someone who knows. I mean, yeah. 1 second, please. Didn't intend for this to turn into this, but we're going to look at the red letters. Is everyone okay with that? Real briefly. There's one particular passage that I want to touch on. Where is it? Let me see here. See, I wasn't prepared, which is why. See, and I'm just an amateur, so I don't know how to find stuff, but no, isn't there? Oh boy, I'm gonna have to look it up online instead. I wanted to look at the actual book itself, but I'm gonna look for it online. We're gonna look at Jesus's prayer. What Jesus prayed for us. You ready? I'm gonna just point out one thing here. What are people saying? Are they okay with that?
Yeah, well, no one's really responded to
okay.
it, but I'm assuming that means yes.
Okay, good. All right, we're going to see. It says this, familia. Listen to this. This is Jesus's prayer to his Father for us. Okay? And I want to point out that it doesn't say that he prays that we hate ourselves or look down on ourselves or give into negative thinking. Okay? Very slowly. It says this. This is John 17:24. It says, Father, I want those you have given me to be with me where I am, and to see my glory, the glory that you have given me because you loved me before the creation of the world. So before the world was created, Jesus is acknowledging that the Father loved him before the creation of the world. And Jesus is saying to his Father, he says, Dad, like, I want them to be with me. I want them to be where I am, here with me, where I am, right? But he doesn't just leave us there. This is his desire is for us to be with him, wherever he is, where he is, which is in heaven, right? He wants us to be there with him. So then he says, Righteous Father, though the world does not know you, I know you. And they know you, and they know that you have sent me. So now he's saying, like, the world doesn't know you, but I do. I know you. And now they know that you've sent me. And I have made you known to them. I have made you known to them. Meaning that he came and made the Father known through him. And I will continue to make you known. And I will continue to make you known in order that the love you have for me may be in them. I found this very interesting, familia. It says, so in order, I will make you known, and I will continue to make you known in order that the love you have for me, not that your love be in them. He's not saying, Father, I pray that your love be in them. He says, I pray that the love that you have for me, is in them. I'm going to do that gesture again. The love you have for me is in them, meaning that they love me as you love me. Your love for me, I pray that the love you have for me is in them, meaning that we have love for him as the Father has love for him. And then it finishes off by saying this, and that I myself may be in them, and that I myself may be in them. What Christ wants us to do is to be united, to come together, so that we all may love him, and that he is in us. So when he's taken up, we're taken up. Pastor Chad touched on this a little bit. When he dies, we die. When he's buried, we're buried. And when he's risen, we're risen because he's in us. That's the way that I'm taking this. If anybody can touch on that, feel free. But this prayer is so beautiful. What's up, Matt? We're on YouTube as well. If you want to join the chat, just briefly touching on stillness. We cannot love God if we think of ourselves as something evil. Is there evil in us? Yes. Are we capable of doing evil things? Yes. Is that who we are? No, we are not. I'm going to stand by that till the day that I die because of this stillness, because I've been in this stillness. I've been in the hurt, and I've fallen into this stillness, and I've been lifted up through that stillness as well. My thinking could never do that. My feelings could never do that. It is only in that stillness when I know God that I can do that. Because he does that. If that makes sense, I don't know, hit the like button, or if you're on Instagram, just hit that heart button. Matt is now on YouTube. This is what we're looking at, is this simple prayer, family. And that whole prayer is just so beautiful because he's asking for things from the Father that are just incredibly beautiful, including one particular passage that I saw. This is my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. He's praying that we all be one, Father, just as you and I, just as you are in me and I am in you. He's praying that we all be one with each other just as he is one with the Father, as the Father is in him and he is in the Father. May they also be in us. He wants us all to be together, and that we all be in God, in them, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. What Christ is saying here, familia, is that the world won't believe until we all are one. And I mentioned this to Pastor Mike the other day. It's very interesting. I've been an atheist before. I don't know how many of you have been faithless before. Some of you grew up in your faith, but I've been an atheist. And I know that the biggest turnoff for an atheist, for someone who's looking from the outside in, the biggest turnoff is, what do you think the biggest turnoff is? Sorry, I'm gonna let you answer. I'm gonna see if you all see. If you all are able to see yourselves from the outside in, what do you think is the biggest turnoff for someone looking for God, but looking at Christianity? This may be a hard pill to swallow. Matt says hypocrisy. That's one. We have somebody here on Instagram who says unity among believers. Oh, is agreeing. Yes, unity amongst believers. Right. Spiritual unity, Jenna mentioned prior to the conversation we're having. But what do you think is the biggest turnoff for someone looking out from the outside in, not loving each other? Jackie says hypocritical believers. They may feel judged. Division. That's one. All of these are right, by the way. The biggest thing that an atheist says when they're looking at Christianity is, why are you all so divided? I'm not judging, familia. Okay, I'm just telling you what my experience was when I was an atheist, and I'm on that side I'm on the other side now, but I'm being completely honest. The division. Why are there so many different versions of the Bible? Why are there so many sects? One believes, we have Protestant, evangelical, and Calvinist, and Catholic, and Seventh-day Adventists, and Jehovah Witnesses, and all this. First of all, the book itself is different versions. Then you have different groups, and then you have different beliefs and different ideas. Cessational versus continuation, and good versus evil, and all this division. It's a turnoff. And Christ is saying here in John 17, 20, where was I? 21, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. When the world sees that we're together, when the world sees that we love one another, when the world gets to see that we are agreeing with that we've put our differences aside, not that we agree, but that we put our differences aside, and that we're still connected to one another, that we've bonded. When the world sees that, then they will believe, like, oh, now I believe that Jesus really did come from God, because there's unity, there's love, there's compassion, there's understanding, not tolerance. Tolerance is a horrible thing. Like, to tolerate someone, it means I don't like you, but I tolerate you. No, not tolerance. Acceptance. Acceptance. Like, let them see God's love. That's why I like that. Remind me, David Woman, the band that says, "We got no love. We got no love." We're learning from metal here. How can they see? How can they know you if they can't see our love? If they can't see your love, we have to be the instruments of that love, not instruments of fear, not instruments of hate, not instruments of, of anger and resentment and any of that. Sleepy Giant, right? Thank you, Erika. Thanks, David. We need to be instruments of love. We need to come back to that stillness. Fall. We've fallen, but or come in. If you don't want to look at it from high to low, you can look at it this way. Come back in here. Watch the movement of your thoughts. Watch the movement of your emotions. Watch how you get yourself in trouble. Watch what thoughts get you in trouble. Watch what emotions get in trouble, and don't step into them. Come back home to intelligence. Come back home. The prodigal son. You've already gone out there. You gotten dirty. You're eating with swine. Come back home. Come back home. It's not a home up there. It's not a home in your physical space. Internally, come back home. Come home. Come home. If you're home and I'm home, we love one another. We respect one another. We're united in that love. I'm not talking about romanticism. I'm not talking about an image of love. I'm not talking about holding an image of each other. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about what's behind all that. Love. Come home. The theme is stillness. We're talking about being still and what it implies to be at the gates of stillness. So I titled it Stillness, but there's a little subtitle here up on top. If you notice, if you see, you see here at the gates of stillness. This is it. We're at the gates of stillness. Once we cross that gate, we're watching the world and the way that it operates. And from there, we can see the falseness of it from behind the gates. It'll try to reach you. It'll say, hey, come back over here. Come back on this side of the gate. And let's talk for a second. I just want to talk to you. Come on. We got tacos. Oh, man, they got me. Right?
Almost made it.
Almost made it. Well, without saying tacos?
Well, yeah.
Right? Like if I'm standing on the behind the gate in that stillness with God, the world is going to approach the gate and it's going to say, come over here. Let's go and experience this again. Let's go drink. Let's go smoke. Let's go be promiscuous. Let's go gossip. Let's go do all these things that we know is not right, but we do anyway. Right? We know that. But from this gate, we can see the falseness of it. We can see how it takes us away from here. Why would you want to be anywhere else? Why would you want to be away from God's presence? It's obvious with the whole COVID thing, God is not in the church. The church closed. So was God unavailable to us? No. He definitely was not. He became more available to us. We got closer in many ways. We got closer. In so many ways, we got closer. Come home. Why would you want to be anywhere else? Why would you want to be where the world is? And I'm only speaking mentally and emotionally. I'm not talking about physically. So don't, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about spiritually. Come home. Then when you go out into the world, familia, when you go out into the world, I don't mean like emotionally. Okay, stay home. But when you're interacting with the world, how do you see your brothers and sisters? How do you look at the homeless man? How do you look at some of you are struggling with this? How do you look at a person that's of a different color than you? How do you look at a person who's of a different culture than you? Different religion? How do you see them? You look at them, you see them. You see them as they are, not as you think they are. You see them as they are, a human being, a child of God who suffers the same suffering that you suffer. There's no such thing as a Chinese suffering or an Australian suffering or this kind of other suffering. There's a human suffering that we all are a part of. We all suffer in the exact same way. And I'm saying, come home. Come home. Come to love. DSA Gaming, thank you so much for the super chat. Recently found your channel through your reactions to Red. I love your passion. God bless, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. And Erika and I pray that the blessing you've given us may be multiplied back in your direction. Thank you so much. God continue to bless you. That's what we want for you, familia. That's what we want. We want to come together. We want to be united. A lot of people are afraid of this. A lot of people I know that are afraid of this. They're saying, well, if we can do it on our own, if we can go back into the stillness and stop sin at the gate, then what did Christ die for? He died for you and for me, for our ability to be able to do that, for our ability to be able to see that, because we don't do that alone. It's that voice that's calling us. The Holy Spirit is calling you inside. It's saying, come home, come to me. Some of us go back in that direction, but we face demons. We face the demons of our past. So we're afraid. No. I can't do it without my own. So I'm going to go externally pray. I'm going to externally worship. And by that, I don't mean you should worship internally, like worship yourself. I mean, go into your own temple. Come home. Come into your temple. Isn't that what the Bible says? The tabernacle? Somebody said it in one of the live chats. That we've become that temple. I've got drawings on the walls of this temple. Come home. In this home, in this place, you don't see color. You don't see age. You don't see gender. You don't see any of that. You see brothers and sisters who are suffering in one way or another, not sinners and evildoers. Children of God who are suffering. Some are suffering in the same way that you are suffering. Others are suffering far greater than you. Far greater than you. Greater. Sounds like a oxymoron. What a maroon. I want to be in this space with you. All your beautiful music that you're listening to, or like I'm lost in the da-da-da. I'm found in your love for me. Ooh, I just wanna be here with you. That's the with you. That's it, right there. What was the other song? The one in your presence. The one.
I'm caught up in your presence.
Caught up in your presence. Da-da, I just wanna be here, da-da, at your feet. Come home. Come on. This is what your music is talking about. This is where it's leading you back to. It's reminding you to be caught up in that presence, to be here. I just want to be here with you. Why would you want to be anywhere else? Internally, the world's already messy. Why are you letting it come into your inner world? I'm extremely proud of all of you. All of you. I was going to say some of you, most of you, but some of you have just come a very long way. Some of you have climbed mountains that nobody even knows that you've climbed. Some people are doing it in silence. Some of you are taking on caring for other people that can't care for themselves, and you're not publicly announcing it. Some of you are dealing with so many different situations at home. By the way, it's been a whole year since my stepdad left our house. A whole year, and we give thanks for that. But some of you are actually dealing with that. It was 30 years. My mother dealt with that for 30 years. An abusive man who only thought of himself, who was messing around, and then come home and dared accuse my mother of doing the things that he was doing because he was afraid. Because he was not a good person. And even till this day, when we find out that he's struggling with something, my mom and I would go like, man, we really hope that he comes out of it. Because we're not hateful people. I don't wish him anything bad. Nothing bad. Because familia, we tap into that intelligence where love and compassion is a never-ending well. It continuously flows. It's a fountain, a never-ending fountain. It's the fountain of life. It gives life, not what we think about the fountain of life usually, or the tree of life, where we think that we eat from it and then we'll be young forever, or we'll regress and be younger. Or no, it gives life. It gives life. You become alive. when we have worship time with me leading, I'm not much of a leader, but we could find somebody to lead for sure. Oh, a year already? Yep. Yeah. I mean, and my mom is still suffering some of the echoes of those 30 years. Till this day, she's suffering through it. So, who's home? Can we get some hearts on Instagram if you're home? If you're home, familia, you can give me a thumbs up or give me a house emoji and say I'm home. And say home. We got everything you want. There's food in there. There's something to drink. There's entertainment. There's worship. The things you need, not the things you want, things you need. Senor Eric Bjorklund. Welcome, senor. I can't wait to see you jump off a piano, man. Where love and compassion is, that intelligence is also present. Thank you for the homes and the virtual hugs. Think about it. Like, please think about this. Go into, as the Bible says, go into your room quietly and pray about this. See this for yourself. I'm not saying anything that's like pointing anywhere else other than back to God. That's how you know. And I'm not just telling you to accept this and to take my word for it. Walk through it. Take a moment and sit back and be quiet, first of all, externally, and then see the noise that's happening that's going on inside of you. All the mental and emotional demands, and say, I don't have to give in to any of these demands. There's something that is watching it, so I can't be my thoughts. There's something that's watching those feelings, so I can't be my feelings. This is the only time that you are your thought and that you are your feeling. You ready? This is the only time that you are your thoughts and you are your feelings, is when you give into those thoughts and into those feelings and you act on them in that moment of that action. That's the only time that you are angry. You are your anger because you're acting it out. But before that, you're not anger. You have anger. Anger is presented. Anger comes to the gate and says, hey, this is going on. Somebody said something about your mom. Come on out here. Let's do something about it. And you go, okay. Then you become anger. Then that's when you are anger. Or your thoughts. When a thought goes, hey, come over here and let's get sad about this thing that happened to us when we were kids. You walk right out of that gate, you go into it, then you're sad. But you're not a sad person. You're not your sad thoughts. They just present themselves in your space, in your sacred space, and you give them vacancy. You rent them space in your house. So come home and lock the door behind you. Don't let the world in. Don't let the world in. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. So just to kind of recap here, let's look at all the things we looked at. We asked ourselves, what is stillness? And stillness is a state. It's a space inside of you. Can we be physically still? Yes. Can we be emotionally still? Yes. Can we be mentally still? Yes. Can we stop feeding our thoughts and stop feeding our emotions? Yes. What is attention? Is to be fully present, to attend. Attention is to attend, to be fully present here, now. If you're thinking about the future, you're not here in the now. If you're thinking about the past, you're not here. You're not paying attention. You're distracted by your thinking, by your emotions, by your thoughts. You're distracted. You're not present where God is. You're taken away. What is awareness? Awareness is the state of being aware of. And what does being aware mean? It's having or showing realization, perception. It's perception. Is it possible to be aware without thought? Yes, it is. We've discussed that. We have discussed that. So thank you so much for joining me.
I was just gonna tell you because Instagram ends in an hour versus YouTube, so I don't know if you wanted to like give them like.
It'll probably end, but maybe Instagram fixed that and now it's allowing it because it's saying that I'm on for an hour and 5 minutes. So I'll just let it end. But let's see. Can we? Well, I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions if you have any, and we'll just take a few minutes to ask any questions if you have any. I've been through a year of reflection and restoration. That's great. I really hope that's working out really well for you, Lisa. It shows how genuine his love is for God. Talking about me?
We're talking about you.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you all talk about me. It's none of my business. Yeah, if you have a question, you can do it in this format: 4 question marks before and after the question, and this way it'll stand out. And if you really want to study something or to look at something, definitely read John 17 and imagine. There's no other way but to do it this way. Imagine Christ sitting there and praying to his Father for this specific thing, and slow it down. Don't be afraid to slow it down. Don't just read the words and say, wow, that was beautiful. Slow it down, sentence by sentence. And imagine, what would I need to feel? What would I need to think? What would be the state of my being to pray for someone? Do you love tacos? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Land of Color has a song called "Don't Let the Enemy In." I need it daily. Yeah, don't let him in. Why would you? Why would you? Mama Bear, thank you so much for the super chat. Mama Bear says, you have a beautiful heart and brain and soul. Just saying. Thank you for just saying. Thank you, Mama Bear. You have a beautiful heart and soul. Learning to slow it down. Yeah, slow everything down. All of it. Slow it down. Can you come to a place where even compliments aren't even accepted? Not accepted like you reject them, but that even compliments don't stick. That you don't allow yourself to create an image out of a compliment and then let that image become something that gets you in trouble. Lectio Divina might be a good way for some to go at that stillness in scripture. Okay, I'll look into that as well. Hi, Zoe. Welcome. And Grace. And Lund. Hello. All right. Well, if there are no questions about this, familia, I will bow out. We're going to be making a drive to drop off Luna with her mother. So we have a long drive. So if you all would pray for us for our safety, safe driving, we appreciate it. Eric Bjorklund, can't wait to have you in Southern California, man. Can't wait to hang out and have some tacos. I'm back for a short time. Wanted to say hi, going through a season now, but God is on my side. Yes, Eric Davis, we're so sorry to hear that, man. Erika and I and the familia will be praying for you. We hope all is well, man. Send me a message, please. I mean, if you want to talk about it, or if you want to send me a message, please. All right, everybody. Thank you. Nancy Stevens, thank you so much. Katie Donovan, thank you. Eric Bjorklund and Eric Davis, thank you for joining us. Angela, thanks. The Adaptive Martimer, thank you for joining us. Lisa, thank you. Who else came in here? Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. Roxana, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for joining us. Jackie, thank you. Mama Bear, thank you so much for joining us. Hermanita, thank you so much for joining us. Dori, thank you so much. And yeah, feel free to continue the conversation in the comment section below if you have anything anything you want to add, anything you want to say. I'd appreciate it if you also share the video with someone you think this might help. Aki, thank you so much for being here with us. Have you listened to Mercy Me Say I Won't? No, I have not. We'll take a listen to it. Can you say, where is it? Oh, can you say hi to Luna for me? Yes, I will as soon as I'm off of here. Jack, Roxana, thank you so much. All right, everybody. We hope, Kim, we hope that, thank you. We hope that this was helpful. Please share it with someone. If you got any value from it, please do me a favor and hit that like button. It just tells YouTube that you liked it, and it'll share it with more people. It'll continue to spread this with more people. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this. We love you so much. We will be praying for you, and we appreciate your prayers for us. And as always, thank you so much for joining us on this, and we will see you on our next adventure. Peace.